Do you know what is the most important aspects in any business? Have you ever thought, means which is the most important or critical factor for any business to make them profitable? The very first thing, if you just try to analyze any businesses, the very first thing is decision making is very important. Whatever the decisions which are taken for any business, whether it is right or wrong, it will be decided based on the results. But how these decisions can be made? Before we start to understand how these decisions can be made and how what are the things which we should do to get to the right decisions or correct decisions to help the businesses, we should understand the very first and important part of these businesses is the critical aspects is the data. For any business, one must understand from where the data is getting generated, who is the key stakeholders for any data, how the data is flowing from one place to another, and based on this data, how the data analysis can be done. And once we have this data, once we understand this data, we should be able to make the use of this data in the most effective way so that it will be helpful for the businesses to take the decisions. And how we can do this? We can do this by understanding the data, learning the data analysis, making the different visualizations or the dashboards, which will help us, the business people, to take the proper decisions on time. This is very important to understand. Taking decisions on time is also important because in such a competitive business world, we should able to understand that time is a very critical factor as well, and the decisions should be taken on the time, and that's what is going to make an impact for any business for their growth. In this course, I am going to tell you about the foundation for the Microsoft Data Analytics, and it's a journey to the Microsoft Data Analyst and also preparation for the exam of the Microsoft Certified Power BI Data Analyst as well. By end of this course, you will get an idea from where to start, what are the things which we need to learn to become a data analyst, and how we can make this Power BI tool as the most effective for our businesses. So let's get started. Let's understand what is data analysis as a first step to become a data analyst. So what is a data analyst? So this is the first step where it is a process of identifying, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data to discover meaningful and useful information. This can be a theoretical thing, but just to understand that means whenever we say any business, the first thing is comes with the data, and this data comes in a various format: raw, unstructured, unorganized data, and we need to get this data in a proper format in such a way which can become a meaningful or which will give some valuable information out of it. So that is something which is needed, and that's why we need to identify the data. Then we need to clean the data, we need to transform the data, and we then again we create a data model out of those data, and then by using this data model we create a different visualizations or charts which will help a business to take the uh, proper decisions. And that's what it can be crafted into a story which will help for reports analysis and supporting a critical decision making process. Let's try to understand some of the core components of the analytics where we can see that these are some of the core components a data analyst should know, which is a descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive, and cognitive, because this is something which is a person or a data analyst must know whenever he or she doing some work as a data analyst. We will try to see what is these components one by one now. The first thing is the descriptive analytics, which is nothing but what has happened based on the historical data. So that is just to finding out means what are the things which has happened. So this is the first thing, and you can say an example of this, which we can say a financial report, which will give some organization sales and its data. So this is something which is saying that last 3 years data, how it looked like and what has happened, means whether the revenue has increased, revenue is decreased, how it is normally. So that kind of analysis can be done with this descriptive analysis. The second thing is a diagnostic analysis, where why events has happened, means what was the reason. Suppose in a particular period, let's say one of the month of a year, the sales was down, then why this has happened. So finding out the reasons, that is something which is comes under the diagnostic analysis. So as a input, we can consider as a descriptive analysis as the first step, means what has happened. But by looking at that data, suppose some particular period is having less data, less revenue, then we can find out that why this has happened, means then finding out the reason. And so what was the reason? So these are some of the steps where we can find out the anomalies in the data. It can be due to unexpected changes in a metric or particular market. If the business is seasonable, then we can understand that particular product is just performing in particular season and not the others. That kind of things can be possible, and that all the things like reasons we need to find out as a part of a diagnostic analytics. Then third one is a predictive analysis, where it comes to about the future, that what will happen in the future. That is, whatever the data which we are having, historical data, 3 years data or 5 years data, we will just try to find out its trends, how it is performing every month or quarter wise or year wise, and whether it is going to happen again in the future as well. That is something which is comes under predictive things, where it will provide what might happen in the future. And this involves statistical and machine learning techniques such as neural networks, decision trees, and regression. So some part of mathematical kind of things comes in this predictive analysis, where we need to understand some of the statistical techniques as a part of this predictive analytics. Then next thing is, first thing which we have identified what has happened, then we identify why it has happened, and then we understood what whether it will going to happen in the future or not. So that is three things happen, and then we are going to see prescriptive analytics, where what are the actions which we can take to achieve our goal. Suppose some business is having some target specified, like in next 3 years they wanted to achieve so and so revenue. So they can actually see means what are the things which you can do to achieve that target. So whatever the predictive analytics we have performed, then based on that we can take the data driven decisions, or business can take the data driven decisions, and they can use some machine learning strategies to find partners in large data sets. So if you have the large data sets, then we can use some of the techniques as a machine learning, which will provide the valuable data to the business to take the proper decisions. And the last one is a cognitive, which is something which is it attempts to draw inferences from existing data and patterns. Now, this is something which is like somewhat more advanced, we can say, where it gets some conclusions based on the existing knowledge basis, and whatever the previous analysis we have done with the help of this descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analysis, that kind of analytics data which we use, and with the help of this knowledge base which is available in the market or industry or wherever online available it is, we can use that data, and we try to analyze our current business as well, where we will try to understand what might happen if circumstances changes, and determine how you might handle this situation. So that is something which is uh, creating or getting some conclusions which will help business to sustain longer, because there may be some unavoidable situations comes, any things can happen in the business. So how we tackle this? There are some inferences drawn which will help business to stay longer and keep running. So these are some of the components of the data analytics, and we need to understand as a part of this data analyst journey. These are some of the components which are important, and this is how we basically perform operations as a data analyst considering any business. I hope you have understood this, and I will see you in next session.